Hello, this is wmpyr back again with some more martial arts talk. And today's topic is I'm going to talk about what I think is the most important thing in martial arts. Okay. And yeah, so what is the most important thing? This is just my opinion. So if it makes sense to you, if you could use it, awesome. If not, don't worry about it. Go to the next video, whether it's mine or somebody else's, not a big deal. Okay. So, the most important thing, I believe, is the ability to listen. That is the most important thing because you have to start with learning, you know. So, I don't care if it's boxing, MMA, or if it's Tai Chi, Sistema, or Wing Chun, or whatever. You have to learn this stuff, whatever it is. So that's the very first thing is learning. So it comes down to how well can you learn. So if you're a bad student, and I see it all the time. I'm trying to explain stuff, and I can see that eyes start wandering. I could tell they're not interested. This kind of thing. That's not a good student. So somebody like that is not going to be able to absorb the info well because they're their own best enemy. So you could imagine, you know, having poor note-taking skills, whether it's physically, where you're actually taking notes, or you're taking notes mentally. If you're not good at that, and you're not getting 100% of the information, or it's not very accurate, you're like, I think he said this, or it's wrong, then yeah, obviously you're learning incorrectly. So that's going to be a problem right there. So that's the first thing. You want to be as best of a student as you can be. Regardless, I don't care if it's like you're a street fighter and you're in prison and there's another guy who's more of a veteran street fighter and they're teaching you tips on how to survive or how to fight better. If you don't listen well, I mean, yeah, you're missing out big time. So listening skill. Now, the next thing is, in today's day and age, there is a ton of info all over the place. We live in the days of the internet. So there's good and bad to that. So the good thing is there's tons of information everywhere, easily accessible. The bad thing is, because there's tons of info, we don't know if it's good, bad, or in between. And chances are there's more in between than there is good or bad. Okay, so the black and white is also not very obvious. You don't know exactly it's hard to tell what's good and it's hard to tell what's bad. There's so much marketing and so much distractions and so many people saying all kinds of things. This is good, this is great. Lots of people saying it, so you go, oh, it must be great. And it might not be that great, that might be the truth. So, but with black and white, there's always the shade of gray. There's more shades of gray. So, in that case, what the next thing that's important is the ability to being able to tell the difference, that takes skill. It's like becoming a better student so that you could learn and absorb better. That takes skill. It's difficult. You're not just born with that. And maybe some people are, but the average person, you got to work at becoming a better student. Well, so now you know that once you decide to learn something, you could do it well. Okay, that's great. But now the next process is being able to choose which one do you learn from, or, how much do you learn, or how do you learn? Those are the things where you got to be able to decipher. Like I said, there's tons of info. Not all of it's good. In fact, most of it is not. So being able to tell that. And when something is not good, it's not just always about finding good things, because that's just a connoisseur, right? And if you end up being a connoisseur, you go, everything's bad. You end up like that, and then you're just not training. So that's not good either. And also, a connoisseur, a lot of times, I think is the nature is that you could become very, very arrogant, and you go, no, this is how you tell how something is good or bad. When there's also gray areas there, and it might just come down to opinion. And really, you can't just box stuff in, because we're talking about real life. And whether it's applying it to yourself, you're not a robot, you're a human being. So, even if your brain knows that this is probably the best thing for you to do, the best technique for you to practice, if it doesn't click for you, or if you don't like it, or maybe the teacher wasn't good, or maybe who knows what, a million different things, it may not just be, it's not right for you, so then something else might click more. You can't pick that, and that's where things have to be more natural. And then now let's take that, and we got to apply it to a real life self-defense situation, that is chaos. That is not a script that's written. So unexpected things can happen. It's very, dynamic and stuff. So once again, having this very rigid way of thinking and going, this is quality, this is not quality, it doesn't always work that way. Now, it can help if you use it as a guide. So being able to know how to study, and then being able to know how to tell the difference between, okay, this guy, the material he's presenting is decent, the guy doesn't really know what he's talking about, this person over here, I could tell he comes from a solid lineage, he doesn't know how to fight worth anything, but what he's teaching is actually excellent body mechanics, and he just doesn't know anything about application, but his forms and his mechanics are super good. Okay, so this next guy over here, this guy can fight, but his techniques are sloppy. The way he teaches is very rough around the edges, and he's not very articulate. So, being able to look at those kinds of things, okay, and being able to see, okay, so how can I benefit from this guy? How can I benefit from this guy? How can I benefit from this guy? This guy I just need to stay away from, or whatever. Being able to develop that kind of eye takes a long time. It's not something you instantly pick up. The worst way to do it, and I see it constantly on YouTube, is the video looks good. So people are like, wow, this guy is the man. Look at him. Now that's how you would defend yourself in a real life situation. I would never mess with this guy because the video looks cool. That is the absolute worst, okay? But there is a lot of that. In fact, I want to say 90% of that is on YouTube, and just looking through the comments, the video looks cool, and the techniques he's doing is fast, and his opponent is very good at making him look good, and it's a choreography fight scene, and people think that's the real deal, and it's not. So that's the worst way to judge things, by coolness, and how good it looks. It's 100% the worst way. Now, you want to, once again, develop the ability to be able to, so these are observation skills, these are listening skills. I believe that this is important also in combat. So what I'm talking about so far is about training, but I think in combat, this is also useful because, like, for example, it doesn't matter what style really, but like, let's say even in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay, rather than going, this is my favorite move, this is what I'm going to do to this guy, this is the way that I do it, this is the same pattern I always do it, and I'm just going to do that to that guy. That may not be the easiest path. In fact, that might be the hardest path. Instead, if you have the ability to listen to the way he moves and observe as you're going, observation, listening go hand in hand. And so you're able to feel their energy and their force and their pressure, and you're able to go with that. Sometimes they tell you how to beat them through that force, believe it or not. You feel all that pressure, and then you go, oh, there's a gap down here. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a knee bar. So being able to listen to the opponent in that sense physically, that can really, really help you out. And so it's almost like they're telling you the easiest way to defeat them. And if you have that skill, then you could be very, very surprised that way. And I remember I did an experiment like that with my training partner, and I told my training partner, who had been training grappling for a while at that time, and he was at a pretty famous school in the area. And I told him, dude, I'm going to do this to you. So you defend it with, you know what's coming. That's what I'm going to do. I'm telling you, this is not a trick. I'm going to do this move to you. I'm going to finish you with this move, okay? So, and I'm going to go for it immediately. The moment we say start, I'm going for this move. And it was a rear naked choke. And I was like, I'm going to go for the rear naked choke. And I'm going to go for it as fast as I can from the moment we start. I'm going to be a killer for the rear naked choke. So we did that, and it was very difficult. I mean, he knew what was coming, and I mean, he had to defend that, and it was very, very tough. So then afterwards, I told him, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, okay, I'm going to get whatever I can get, and I'm going to take my time. Okay, I'm not even really going to force it, okay? So ready and go. And we went, and I got the rear naked choke this time very fast, but more importantly, was very easy. It was extremely easy. Because I didn't force it. I just saw the opportunity and took it. So he gave it to me, is what it was. The first round, he fought it. So I had to try to force it in, and he's fighting it, and it's a back and forth struggle. And man, I mean, we were both worn out after that, But the next time, after we took a break and recovered, the next time, it's just, he didn't know it was coming. And it was like, oh, it's right there, boom. And it was really that easy. And I was like, wow, so but I didn't telegraph my intent. I didn't let him know. I wasn't like, I'm going for it, and he's blocking, and because he knows what to do. So that's not what happened. I just had my hands out here, and he had no idea it was coming. And I didn't even know I was going to go for it. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, there it is, boom. And I got it. So, that to me is huge. So in that situation, he was listening to me. He felt the pressure, and it was very obvious to him that I told him that I'm going for his neck. So he knew he just had to defend that, and he did. Okay. And I wasn't allowed to switch. I just had to go for that. But the next time around, I didn't give him the info. So he had no idea. I didn't give him enough info. Like I said, my arms were out here, so he couldn't tell. So that to me is the most important. And this could also be applied also to the battlefield, right? So imagine you're going up against the enemy army, and if you have no idea what they're good at, how many of them are, what kind of weapons they have, if you don't have any knowledge and info about that kind of stuff, and you go up against this army, I mean, you're fighting blind, right? But then if you know that stuff because you observed and you sent out scouts and you're figuring you have spies and stuff and you listened, then defeating them becomes much easier. So listening to me is very, very important. And styles like Wing Chun and Aikido that a lot of people make fun of, they work on those listening skills. So if you have actual fighting skills, and then on top of that, you've worked on listening skills, I think it could do a body good. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.